Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
And welcome everyone to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and it's a really weird and exciting, kind of sad, iffy, emotional time right now in basketball, just because we're basically wrapping up the regular season of play, and we're heading into the playoffs. We're securing your spots in the playoffs or spots in the lottery, depending on what you are rooting for. And so there's a lot going on. It's sad. This is when I start hating springtime, just because it's the wind down of the regular season. But then we still do have the playoffs. So anyway, so last night we have today for the show, we're going to do, of course, a recap of all the games from last night. But then as well, there's a few other interesting things going on in Chicago, the Brooklyn Nets with Boston and the Cavaliers as well. So LeBron James sitting out, a bunch of little things to get into and some news to wrap up, and the standings, an update on the standings moving forward into the playoffs. So a lot to get into today, much to discuss, and we're just going to jump right into it. So last night, there were quite a few games, a lot of, wrap-ups and season finales and things like that as far as playing at home for some of these squads. Just a lot going on, a lot of emotion for some teams because, some of these teams, they're not playing in the playoffs. This is the end of the road as far as this season goes. So anyways, we'll jump right into it. So the Indiana Pacers went to go visit the 76ers in Philadelphia and defeated the 76ers, I'm sure much to the Sixers' delight at this time, 120-111. Paul George was the top name for the squad in that win last night. He had 27 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. So definitely a strong performance in that win over the Sixers as they're trying their best to secure a seed in the playoffs. So definitely a big game for the both of them because the Pacers needed a win, whereas the 76ers needed a loss. So, and we're going to probably, if we have enough time, get into how I feel about that as well. So anyways, the Brooklyn Nets went on to Boston to go face the Celtics. The Celtics got it done, of course, against the Brooklyn Nets, 105-114. And I'm going to talk to you guys later on what is so special about this win and what that means for the Boston Celtics. Jeremy Lin of the Nets, he had 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. Isaiah Thomas, the point guard for the Celtics, 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists for the little guy up top. So definitely a big game for the Celtics last night. The Cavaliers went to go face the Miami Heat. So Braun went to go face his old squad. And the Cavaliers fell in overtime again last night to the Miami Heat, 121-124. So, not. The Cavaliers scored 31 points in the third quarter, but then only 17 in the fourth. Deron Williams of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he had 35 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists, so just one shy of a double-double. Hassan Whiteside of the Miami Heat, he had a smooth game last night with 23 points, 18 rebounds, and 1 assist inside. Braun did sit out, so we're definitely going to talk about that and kind of what may or may not be going on in Cleveland in a little bit later on in the show. But the Cavaliers looking a little, they're losing in overtime these last couple nights, and it's weird. It's weird. We talked about this yesterday with Ben. It's just really weird for them to not be able to pull it out in these overtime games like this. The Orlando Magic went on to face the Chicago Bulls, and the Chicago Bulls literally taught the Magic how to play the game of basketball last night. The Bulls won at home, which makes it even sweeter, a win like this, 75-122. Yes, 75-122. This is kind of, I don't know. The Magic only had 13 points in the first quarter, whereas the Chicago Bulls started off the gun blazing a trail with 34 points in the first quarter. So, that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game for the Chicago Bulls and the Orlando Magic. Definitely a strong win for them. Perhaps a little bit too late, but, nice for them, and we'll get into that game as well later on a little bit in depth. The Charlotte Hornets went to go face the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks beat them at home 89-79. Giannis inside 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists, so a nice triple-double for him. Nicholas Batum of the Hornets, he had 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists for his team in that loss to the Bucks last night. The Washington Wizards defeated the Pistons 105-101. A strong game for the Wizards on the road as well. The Spurs, again, lost. The Spurs lost yesterday to the Trailblazers just by 1. They were able to basically in the last play pull off that win over the Spurs. The Spurs' top performer was Kawhi Leonard. No surprise there. 18 points, 1 steal, and 1 block. But Shabazz Napier of the Trailblazers, 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. So the Blazers were able to defeat the Spurs at home by 1 point in the last play. So definitely a fun game there if you are a Trailblazers fan. The Houston Rockets went to go face the LA Clippers, and just after speaking about winning is very important and how strong it is as far as in the race for becoming the MVP, being named the MVP, James Harden and his Rockets fell 96-125. So tough loss there for the Rockets. Chris Paul of the Chris Paul of the Clippers. The Rockets played the Clippers last night, Chris Paul, he had 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists in that win in LA for the Clips. And the Utah Jazz defeated the Warriors on the road. The Warriors lost 99-105 at the Oracle, really. Steph Curry, he's back, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Another thing that we kind of talked about is finding that chemistry for the Warriors when Kevin Durant is in and Steph and all of their superstars, but finding that superstar chemistry mesh as they are trying to go into the playoffs and working well together in the playoffs. So anyway, so there's a lot of other news that we still need to get into. Going to give you guys a preview of what to expect tonight as teams are wrapping up the season. So with that, I'm going to take it to my first break, and when I come back, there's a lot more to discuss. So keep locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and we're getting ready to wrap up the regular season of basketball of the NBA, and we're going to get into soon the playoffs, postseason, the fun, the excitement of the playoffs, which everyone has been waiting for. And some people, some of us, some squads, some teams, some fans, we're done. We're done for the season. Others of us, there's still, some are still fighting for that chance. And others are sitting pretty because you guys already know that you may not have perhaps the seeding that you want, but you are in the playoffs, and that's all that matters. So tonight, a few more games left on the schedule. We have the Charlotte Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks facing off at the Phillips Arena in Atlanta tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to go take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So definitely can, without a doubt, expect a monster of a game. We have Russell Westbrook. He's averaging, of course, 31.9 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, and 10.4 assists of a game. So at least, hopefully, if Russ plays in Russ fashion, you guys are going to see 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists tonight in Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns, on the flip side, he's averaging 25 points, 12 rebounds, and about 2 assists per game. So a guy, you guys know, these are my two favorite guys right now that as far as games being played tonight, matching up one of my favorite centers, Karl Anthony Towns, taking on Big Russ. So I'm very excited for that game tonight. That's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific time on NBA TV, so a lot of fun there. The Denver Nuggets are going to go face the Dallas Mavericks tonight in Dallas. Another game to keep, some of these games I'm anticipating more than others, of course, rightfully so, not a problem. We have the Pels taking on the Lakers here in California at the Staples Center. Another game that another one of my favorite centers is playing tonight as well. And then my home squad, the Kings, are hosting the Phoenix Suns. Anything could happen with this game. Who knows? What could happen with that? Devin Booker coming into town. That game is today at 7:30. So a few games to watch. I think the big excitement game, as far as having a lot of focus, of course, is going to be tonight with Big Russ and the Thunder taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that is what to look forward to today. And now I wanted to get into some of the other situations happening around the NBA. So as of today, as of right now, in the Western Conference, we have the Warriors sitting at number 1, San Antonio Spurs 2, Rockets 3, Clip City at 4, Utah Jazz, followed by the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the Portland Trail Blazers rounding it out for the West side. So not too much excitement or surprise there as far as that's concerned. But on the other side of the board, we have currently Boston sitting above the Cleveland Cavaliers, 1 game above. Boston Celtics have overall 52 wins and 29 losses. The Cavs, on the other hand, have 51 wins and 30 losses. The Raptors, not far behind, with 50 and 31. The Raptors sitting at number 3. The Washington Wizards 4. Atlanta Hawks 5. The Bucks at 6. The Pacers are at 7. And the Chicago Bulls currently are rounding out the Eastern Conference at number 8. So definitely not, I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise. I think it was more of, we did kind of know how the West was going to be, and we all assumed that the Cavaliers were going to dominate the East. But some of these teams, like I said, we talked about this with Ben on the show previously, on the previous show, that the Cavaliers, it's really weird just because the Cavaliers have been so weird lately. And it's not that they're doing terribly, but they're not doing well, I guess you could say, at the same time. And so other teams are really taking advantage of this situation for them. So the top spot is in the battle. We had last night. So last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Miami Heat, like I said. LeBron James did not play, supposedly due to his calf, and Kyrie Irving was out as well, nursing a sore knee, and things like that. So they did lose to Miami Heat, like I said earlier, 124 to 121. They are also playing without Tristan Thompson, who I said in an episode last week that he has hurt his thumb, and they were kind of playing it by ear as far as when he was going to come back. They did not think it was going to be this long, but they didn't know exactly when either. So this is his 4th straight game that he has missed due to that sprained thumb that he hurt earlier last week. Kevin Love, he had 25 points for the Cavs, and he at first was a little bit questionable for Monday as well, but did step up to the plate and play. So, and then some more sad news, as if it couldn't get worse for the few of you Cav fans that listen, but unfortunately, it does look like Braun is also going to be sitting out in tomorrow's game, which is the Cavs regular season finale against Toronto because of that calf strain. Irving, he's still a little bit questionable, and it's interesting because if you guys want to know this little fun fact of the day, LeBron James has not played in a regular season finale since 2007. So he's been resting, I guess, as far as that is concerned, on regular season finales. He's been resting. Now, the only kind of little bit of controversy as far as that's concerned when it comes and circling around Braun is that Sunday he was in the club. He was. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's not like this is something that you can really hide. If you're LeBron James going out anywhere, I'm sure people will notice, but let alone the club. So a little bit of controversy there because then he couldn't play in last night's game due to a calf strain. And then supposedly it's been reported and said that he's also not going to play tomorrow night in the regular season finale. So, if I'm a Cavs fan, I'm a little bit perturbed about that. That would kind of irk me to know that your main man, as far as your squad's concerned, is out popping and can't play for the next 2 games and you guys are losing. So anyways, but of course, I'm sure in LeBron James fashion, he will kick it into high gear as the playoffs are getting ready to roll around, and it's going to do his normal blackout, not going to be dealing with any outside drama. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully that will be the case. I know that you Cavs fans are hoping that's going to be the case and that, things will shift back into your guys' winning mentality as the playoffs get ready to roll around. So that's that piece on that. When we come back, there's a little bit more that we have to talk about with the Chicago Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Boston Celtics as well. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and I'll be right back.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. So with the regular season wrapping up, a lot of these last few games are really important for some of these teams who are just on the cusp but need another team to lose and them to win, as far as trying to secure a spot in the playoffs. So the Boston Celtics right now, as of yet, I said, were on their way to secure the number 1 seed. So they did beat the Brooklyn Nets on Monday. And then the Cavaliers, in Boston's luck, did lose to Miami Heat. So and they all have one more game to play. So if on Wednesday, tomorrow, that the Celtics win over the Milwaukee Bucks, they will secure the number 1 seed and guarantee home court advantage through the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Cavaliers, on the other hand, are going to be hosting the Toronto Raptors. And if for some reason Boston falls to Milwaukee on Wednesday, tomorrow, then the Cavaliers will claim the top spot if they defeat the Toronto Raptors. So definitely a lot on the line as these games are getting ready to be played. Tomorrow, the regular season finales, and it's a big deal. Isaiah Thomas of the Celtics, he did say the number 1 seed. That means a lot to me personally. Hopefully we can get that. I thought about the number 1 seed a lot. I think it's pretty cool to be the number 1 seed, and hopefully we can finish the season that way. It says a lot about this group. I don't think anybody thought we'd be in this position, so it's a nice feeling. Definitely a great feeling for them. They just, basically need one more win. It'll be definitely a good time for them. The Celtics just won their first Atlantic Division title since the 2011-12 season with that victory from last night. And it's a real big deal. Isaiah Thomas, he said about that accomplishment, he said, I never won a division title. So yeah, it means something. All these things that we're doing this year, it means a lot to me. So he's definitely appreciating what's happening. And that's, I'm sure, boosting him and the rest of his squad as they get ready to move on into the playoffs, whether they for sure secure that number 1 seed or not. I know that this is going to definitely boost them and give them some of that momentum moving forward into the postseason. Another big situation or event title that has been secured as well in the Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics matchup was that Brook Lopez did pass Buck Williams in becoming the franchise's career leading scorer. Now, the Nets, they did lose to Boston. He finished with 25 points and was able to top the record books. He has had 10,441 points. Brook Lopez did say when asked about it later, it's a great honor. Obviously, a lot of amazing players have played here. I'm just proud to have my name up there with those guys. So still a great night, at least as far as individual statistics are concerned, for Brook Lopez, even though his squad did fall to the Boston Celtics. Another team kind of holding on to their luck, holding on and battling for playoffs is the Chicago Bulls. They did defeat the Orlando Magic. They crushed the Orlando Magic last night. won 22-75, and they need a win over the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night, and or it would really help if the Miami Heat did lose to the Washington Wizards as well for the Bulls to clinch that playoff spot. And Dwyane Wade did say, when you come into the season, your goal is to make the playoffs. That's what our goal continues to be through it all. Whether we're playing well, then we are playing bad, whatever the heck is going on, at the end of the day, you want yourself in a position to make the playoffs. So definitely wanting to take control of that and give his squad at least a chance to get into the playoffs, then we can go from there. Let's just get to the postseason, and then let's take that on and take that challenge on as well. So definitely these next few games are going to be a very big deal for quite a few teams as well. Last night was a big night. We're getting ready to wrap up this episode. And last night was actually the wrap up for the Detroit Pistons as they played their final game at the Palace of Auburn Hills last night. And they had a really nice ceremony. In the pregame ceremony, Dennis Rodman, he walked across the court to deliver the game ball. So definitely a big thing for the Detroit Pistons, their fans as well, to kind of honor the last 29 years in the Palace of Auburn Hills. So they did lose, of course. We talked about this early in the segment, but they did lose to the Washington Wizards 105-101. But honestly, that wasn't, it would have been sweet, of course, to top it off with a win, but they had a really good wrap-up ceremony as they get ready to look forward to the next season and the new home and things like that. They had a lot of video tributes and standing ovations when, they honored Isaiah Thomas, Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, who I love, and just a lot of players from throughout their history. They also, some current players, they took pictures out on the court with the championship trophies. Just a fun time for the Pistons and their fans. So the Pistons are getting ready to move into Little Caesars Arena starting next season, and they're actually going to be in the city of Detroit, not on the outskirts. They're going to be inside the city of Detroit. They did win their first NBA title in 1989, which was the first season here at the Palace, and then another championship followed that next year with, Thomas, Dennis Rodman, and the Bad Boys, if you guys remember that back then, and a lot of us have always heard about them as well. So a lot of great memories in the Palace. 2004, you guys remember Ron Artest, and that when he, went into the stands and started that fight off, and, a lot of fun memories, aggressive memories, but, definitely a strong sense of pride and honor in the Palace, I think so. So definitely they showcased off the appreciation of the team, of its fans, and all the great history and great players that have come out of that as well. So definitely a great night for them as they wrapped up. Of course, a win, would have been nice, but, you take your wins with your losses, and just to honor all that rich history with 29 seasons there at the Palace as they get ready to move into the city of Detroit. So definitely a lot of fun. We basically just had that here in Sacramento this past season with moving from the outskirts, the Arco Arena, Sleep Train Arena, whatever. We call it Arco here in Sacramento still. No matter what name changes the arena is going to get, was in Natomas. And now the Golden One is downtown in the hustle and bustle of downtown Sacramento. So definitely, from a squad that did the same kind of move. It's not a bad move. Definitely something to look forward to with the Detroit Pistons as they go into next year. So with that, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. Ben will be in tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys Thursday.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.